Hello and welcome. It's so great to have you here with me. Today, I just want to talk a little bit with you about how to pick out a violin. This can be a pretty exciting and sometimes confusing process because there's so many different things that you want to look for in choosing a violin to make sure that you're getting the most for your money and to make sure that it's really going to be the instrument that you need for your goals and your pursuits. So, I am currently a music teacher at an elementary school, and I've also have been teaching violin privately for over 8 years now. And I've guided many students through the process of picking out their violin, and it's kind of like, in some ways, picking out a new car. When you are picking out a new car, you don't want to just settle for the first car that you find. It can take a little while to do some research to make sure that you're going to get a car that you need, that fits your needs, that fits you, that fits your budget, and something that you really like, and maybe even one that you like the way it looks. So, with picking out a great violin, the number one thing to do is to try it out first. And I'm not just talking about trying it out in the store. Really make sure that you go to a violin store in person and make sure that it's one where they let you take it home. Take the violin home with you for a week or however long they allow you to have it home with you. Play it a couple times. Take home at least 3 or 4 that you like. And then practice with those different ones throughout the week. And whichever one, by the end of the week or 2 weeks, however long they give you, whichever one you like the best, buy that one. So, number one thing, make sure that it's something that you can take home and really practice and try yourself. The second thing is making sure that you pick one that is in your price range. If you're a beginner violinist, like let's say you're starting for the very first time, you've had no violin experience, this is your very first violin, then make sure that you aren't getting the nicest violin out there, because honestly, a couple months from now or a year from now, you might quit. And you would have just blown $12,000 on a violin that sits in your attic that maybe you end up giving to your grandkid one day. So, if you're a beginner, you can do a nice violin, like a decent violin, for $250, even less sometimes. So that really just depends on where your budget is for that. But I would say if you're a beginner, even if you have the money to spend, shoot for something more like $100 to $500 for your first one. That's just for the violin. And then with the bow, I would say for your very first bow, make sure that it's around $50 to $150, and you do want to spend a decent amount of money on a good bow, because the bow actually does change it. And once again, make sure you take home a couple bows to try out as well. So number one, making sure that you're getting a violin that you can take home and try out. And then number two, make sure that it's the right price range for your goals. If you've been, and one more thing to add with that one, if you've been a violinist for years, like let's say you're playing in symphonies, you're practicing multiple hours a day, then yes, it's time for you to maybe think about investing in a much more expensive, a much nicer violin, because this potentially could be part of your livelihood to play the violin. Once you do invest in a good one, you can keep it for up to the rest of your life, 30 years, even more sometimes. So making sure that you have a good one if you are really pursuing the violin, that's huge. And then the next thing that I would say to do is to really just make sure that your violin looks the way that you want it to look. Aesthetics do actually matter, I think, in picking out a violin. So make sure that it's something that you feel comfortable playing on, something that you're excited about. That's another thing. And those are my top tips for you. I hope that you have the best of luck and the best journey ever of finding your perfect violin. Thank you. Bye-bye.